Hi everyone, Sarah from Sarah Homfray Embroidery. Welcome to another Tuesday chit chat, and today we are going to have a look at birds. But before I get into what this is all about, there's a couple of little things we just want to catch up from the previous Tuesday chit chats. So I just want to mention the book list. A couple of chit chats ago we had a little talk about reading material and things that were embroidery related or textile related or colour or fabric or that kind of subject, and I got you to help me compile a list of some good reading material. So that list is quite extensive now. Thank you very much for those of you who sent your recommendations in. You can see a list of that under that chit chat video, but it's also on our website. So if you pop to the website, along the top you can see community. If you just click the community tab, there's a drop down and it says reading list. So if you go there, you will see all of those books on the website. So you can see either on that chit chat video or on the website. Do check them out. There's lots of reading material there for you to get your teeth into. I also just want to mention World Embroidery Day. That's coming up at the end of July, so only 4 weeks away. So we are going to start collecting together videos for that, for stitching around the world for World Embroidery Day. If you haven't seen our videos yet, we've been doing this for quite a few years now. I'll put a link to the playlist for those up at the end of this, and you can check that out and see what that's all about. I do hope you'll join in. We're getting more and more every year, and it's a really fabulous event that it's turning into now. So look out for that soon. Please don't message me now and go, where do I send my videos? We're not ready quite yet. We will make another video, show you how to get involved and where to send your videos to. I'm just pre-warning you. Get your pieces out, have a look and see what you might want to show us on World Embroidery Day. Okay, so let's talk about what I've been doing this week. I just want to mention why it's so dark in here. I've got all the curtains shut. Today is going to be hot for us in the UK. I'm aware lots of you all over the world live in lots of hotter places. You've probably got air conditioning and we don't have that. So I'm trying to beat the heat today and get this done before it gets really, really hot in here. It's quite well insulated, this studio, but it's not going to cope with temperatures over 30 degrees. So I think we'll probably be decamping this afternoon back into the house. So I'm trying to get this done. So it's a bit dark because I've got the curtains shut, trying to keep the heat out. So I had a little impromptu visit to my local museum at the weekend. Now somebody sent me a link to something that was on at the museum and I wanted to check it out. So I went onto their website and had a little look to see what this was about. And then I discovered that they've actually done quite a lot of... Hello. This is the first time you've joined us in a chit chat and you're covered in grass. Right, can you just sit down? Good boy. I know it's very hot if you've got a fur coat, isn't it, mate? Sit down. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. Yes, so the museum has had a little bit of an upgrade, so they've done some new things since I was last there. And sometimes when things are local, you don't tend to visit them so much. You tend to forget about them because they're always there. You think I can always go, and then you never go. So they got this new thing on, and I was really excited about this, so I had to rush off and see it there and then. So I've been to the museum to have a look at that, and I also had another reason for going to the museum as well, which I will tell you about in a little bit. So we live just outside the town of Mansfield. That's in Nottinghamshire in England. We're right near to Sherwood Forest, which is absolutely fabulous. And Mansfield was an ex-mining town, so it was a coal mining town, lots and lots of coal mines in this area. There's basically a great big seam of coal right down the middle of the country. None of them are open anymore. The last one shut fairly recently, including ours was one of the last ones to go actually. But Mansfield was also known for a lot of other industries. So it had a brewery, Mansfield Brewery, that was started in 1855, that's not there anymore. Also had a shoe factory called the Mansfield Shoe Company, which by 1908, I thought this was quite an interesting statistic, I'm just going to read it, had 4 sites in the town and was producing over 1 million pairs of shoes a year. That's a lot of shoes. We're not that big a town, so it's a lot of shoes. And it also had the Metal Box Company, which does what it says on the tin because it makes tins. So if you see sweet tins, Quality Street, things like that, can't think of any others offhand. So it used to make those tins as well. So that's not there anymore, unfortunately. All of these industries have now gone, they've now been closed down, and some of them have been turned into other things. But there is a good history of these in the museum in a place called Made in Mansfield. So it's a Made in Mansfield arcade, and when you go in the museum you can see this arcade and there's all this information about these companies in there and some samples of what they made and the history about them as well. So you can still learn about them even though they're not there anymore. So the museum was actually set up in 1903 by William Bailey. Now his father was responsible for the brewery, so he set up Mansfield Brewery. So they had a fair bit of money floating around, and William was a collector and a hunter of birds and animals, and he had this collection, this natural history collection, and he donated it to Mansfield and the original museum building as well, to house the collection. So that's how the museum actually started. So this new display that they have got in there is called The World of Birds. So this is a collection of birds from William Bailey's collection and 2 other collectors as well. And some of these birds have been donated to the museum. So it's an old collection of birds, and thankfully we don't advocate that anymore. We don't hunt and stuff animals for our pleasure anymore, which is great. I think we'll all agree we'd rather see them running around alive. But these collections were very much of their time, and I think it's important that we understand that and that we use them today to educate ourselves about the natural world and why it's important to look after it. So the birds in this collection are at least 100 years old, some of them are 150 years old, and what I thought was really interesting about what they'd done in this collection was, although they're from all over the world, there were a lot of local species. So you can actually go out around the forests and the fields where I live, and you can see a lot of these birds, and I really like that connection that this is what they look like, and you can actually now go out and have a look and see if you can find them. So most of the coal mines in this area, when they were shut down, they were turned into country parks and green spaces. So we're actually really lucky. We've got so much nature that we can go out and have a look in and explore and have a look for some of these birds in the collection. So I quite like that connection that we can study them in this museum, but then we can go out and see them in real life. So I did some drawings of the birds in the museum. I like to use original sources if I can, and I'll show you a little bit more what I mean about that in a minute. Now Ginger Cat's just sat on it, so I'm just going to pull it out, thank you, and show you my birds that I drew. So just some sort of sketches of some of the birds that were in the display in the museum. So just pencil sketches. I really do like to draw, enjoy drawing and painting, so I find this really pleasurable, and I'm trying to use the original sources and start drawing them and studying them. And if you actually draw them rather than just take a photograph of them, you're understanding a little bit more about what it is you're drawing. You understand how the beak actually connects to the head and how big the body is and where the feet are placed. So you have a really good understanding if you can draw it. So these were some sort of fairly sketchy ones that I did. And then over the page, I had to go at a few more. And you can see what I've done here is I've sort of made them a little bit less sketchy and a bit more of an outline design. So I've just, hope you can see that there. So I've just sort of made the shapes more prominent here and defined them a little bit more rather than a sketchy pencil sketch. I've done more of a design, and you can hopefully see how you can get from the original birds now to a sketch of it and to a design of it. And it'd be quite nice to turn these into something. I don't know if these ones necessarily, I just picked a couple to try and have a little play with. I do really like this one. He's a hornbill. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Whether people would want to stitch him or not, because he's quite unusual looking, but he's just got some fabulous shapes and really beautiful shapes which would lend itself really nicely to an embroidery design. So I might investigate the little hornbill a bit further. There was hundreds of birds in the museum. I think it was over 600, so there's lots of resources there, and I didn't have long. I just legged it along there and wanted a quick look before the museum shut. So I think I will go back with my sketchbook and maybe my paints, and I will study a few more and get some colour on there as well as some colour references and see if we can't turn that into a design. So I do have my own little natural history collection. It doesn't involve any stuffed animals, quick to point out, but things like shells and leaves and seed heads and all sorts of little things that I've just collected out on my walks or out on my travels or down on the beach. And I just thought I'd show you a few things that I have made that you will have seen before in videos, but I have made from those sources. So I'm trying to show you, I suppose, where the original source came from. So rather than just getting a picture off the internet and copying that, I've actually gone to the original thing and studied it and drawn it and turned it into something. So I've just picked a few out that I am going to show you again. I'm sure you've seen these on videos before if you're a follower of the channel. Let's show you this one first. So I'm just going to show you this drawing. I'm going to put it in front of my face. So these are some studies of this shell. This is an amazing, look at the shapes in that, absolutely fabulous. And I've done some really quick drawings here. Some of them are timed and are really quite scrappy drawings, and then they get a little bit better. So just some studies, lots of different angles of it to see where the interesting shapes are, see what colours are in there. So that was a little study of some shells. And then I can't remember when I did it now, it's quite a while ago, but this was to use and try out the anchor linen threads that we currently sell in the shop. So this was my little design. Now this pack of colours was actually called seashore colours. So somebody's already made the decision that those are shell colours, which is quite nice. It did that little bit for me, but I just wanted to show you the shells from my collection that inspired it. So there's that one in the middle. Got the ginger cat on the table. That's that one there, albeit in different colours. I've got a little bit of a razor shell here, which is across the bottom. So if you have the original ones, you can see what they actually look like. You can see where the colours are. And it just means, I think your designs come out a little bit more personal, a little bit more realistic maybe. So I actually drew those shells, used those shells to create that design. I also did a video on leaves, and I actually went out into one of our country parks, which was our mine. So in the little village I live in was a mining village. It had a mine in the village, and I went out into what is now the country park, which is where the mine was, and I picked some leaves and I took you with me. So there's a video on that one, and I actually bought some leaves back and I drew around the leaves and I cut these shapes out and I stitched on them. So again, using things that I found around me to create my designs with. Yes, you can just get some shapes of some leaves off the internet. It's absolutely fine if you want to do that, but I really like that connection with going out into nature and picking up the leaves that are actually where I live. And if you live in a very different place to me, which many of you do, you will have different kinds of plants and different kinds of leaves. You might have cactus if you live in the desert. So there'll be lots of different things that are specific to where you live. So that's what I really liked about that, was it made it really personal. These are the leaves of the place that I actually live. We also did a little class in the forest, a little forest sampler class. That was a lot of fun for those of you who joined me for that. So this one isn't quite so realistic, but I've done quite a bit of fungi foraging. I love going out looking for my fungi and taking photographs of it and painting them. So this is inspired by that rather than actually studying it. But it's another way of recording things that are around and using my environment as my inspiration. Lots of fungi on that. Not realistic, just interesting colours and fabrics, and show you the back. That's all the stitching I did on it, and then we wrapped around a little scroll. So in the class we went out into the forest and we collected some stuff, and we just spent some time being outside really and seeing what inspired us. So it doesn't have to be something in a cabinet in a museum, although I do like a good cabinet stuffed full of interesting things. You can go out into nature as well and see what you can find in nature. Got a couple more to show you. So that was my poppy book that I made. Now if you haven't seen this and you look at like, oh, I don't remember that one, this is on my other channel. This is Sarah Homfray Creates, which is my place to do something a little bit different than the hand embroidery videos, although this is hand embroidered. But I went into the fields and I picked some poppy petals and I dyed my fibres, my threads with the poppy petals, which is why it's that kind of pale colour, so it's actual poppy petals. And then I did a drawing of some actual poppies, so I used the poppies to make my design. You can see that whole process in that video if you're interested in that. Then I made it into a little sketchbook, and then I went back into the field and I painted some poppies. Sorry, you can't see this, but disturbing the cat. And I actually painted some poppies just to sort of come full circle. So you can see that one on the other channel. And this one is also on the other channel. This is my little acorn bag here. So this is actually dyed with acorns and oak leaves from Sherwood Forest. I picked them off the floor. I did not pick them off the trees. I took them off the floor, and I made sure the squirrels still had plenty left because there are lots of oak trees there. They weren't going to run short. And I actually dyed this fabric with the oak leaves and the acorns, and then I drew my little oak leaves from the oak leaves I've collected as well, and dyed the fabric like that. So inspired by my surroundings, not necessarily literally drawing the thing that I've seen and putting on there, but inspired by it and actually made it out of the materials from the actual forest. So I had another reason for popping into the museum at the weekend. So I'm part of a little art group that we meet every weekend, and we sit and we paint and we draw and we eat cake and we chat together. Not always in that order. And we had a little mini exhibition that was up in the museum. So they've got a wall in there that you can put some small paintings up. So they have a couple of bigger galleries for changing exhibitions, but this is a little space on the wall and we could all put our pictures up on there. So we all entered a picture and we had a theme which I think was mining heritage, which goes back to all the coal mines that were in this area, and we all painted a little painting based on what we thought mining heritage meant. So it could be anything you wanted really, and I went less of the miner coal route and went more of these country parks that are now there in place of the mines, and I did my country park, and you can see my two in the middle. Those two paintings in the middle are mine. So I thought I'd better go and pop along and just have a look at that, because I haven't actually seen it yet. And I think they work really nicely together. We had to do that size of painting so it could fit into that space, and it could only fit so many canvases in, so they all had to be that size. But I just think that theme really ties it all together, and it was really great to see them all up on the wall in the museum. So I found my little trip back to my local museum really inspiring actually. I'm glad I rediscovered it, because I kind of been quite a few times before and just sort of thought that was it there, and hadn't really kept an eye on it. So it was really nice to discover they'd done this new thing. They got some funding to do it. They've got this collection now that they can share with people and that we can use as a resource. So I would encourage you to go and see if you've got a local museum that you have never been to, or you've forgotten about, or you didn't know was there, and maybe see what you can find out about your local area and how you can bring that into your work. If you live in a city, this will obviously be quite easy, because there'll be lots of museums. So maybe if you live in a smaller town, you've got something local you could go to. Or if you don't have anything like that, you could just go out and about and see what you can find, see what's local to your area and how that can inform your work. And I appreciate not everybody can get out and about as well. So if you can't, there are lots of online resources. There's tons of online resources that you could use instead. And I thought that's probably worthy of a video of its own, really. So I thought we might do that in the next Tuesday Chit Chat, and we could do the same thing that we did with the books and compile a list of all these resources that you can go and look at. And obviously the great thing about that is you can look wherever you are in the world. So if there's a collection in London, you can see it in Australia, which I think is fabulous. So we will do one on that and other resources that you can use, and we'll do that in a separate Chit Chat. Okay, it's getting quite warm in here now, so I think I'm going to sign off for today, but I hope that's inspired you to go and investigate your own area, maybe go and visit something you've not seen for a long time. If you're interested in seeing those two videos on the poppy and the acorn bag, you can see those on my Sarah Homfray Creates channel up here. And if you haven't discovered our Stitching Around the World videos, I'll put those down there. You can check those out, and hopefully you'll join in with that information coming soon. I'll see you soon, folks. Thanks for watching. Bye.